Okay, now, we wrote that about 2 years ago. Now, there's a paper published about 3 months ago in Clause 1, which you can look up online. I've got the reference for it here. Now, this paper is absolutely mind-boggling. So, I told you guys what effect sizes are big, right? Like 0.2, that's pretty good. 0.3, that's larger than about 2/3 of social science studies published. 0.5, it's like, well, you're dancing on the moon because you just don't get a correlation of 0.5 between two things unless you're extraordinarily lucky. It's like 95th percentile effect size. Okay, so this paper was published about 3 months ago. Now I'm going to read you the abstract, okay, and then I'm going to briefly show you the data. According to the parasite stress hypothesis, authoritarian governments are more likely to emerge in regions characterized by high prevalence of disease-causing pathogens. Recent cross-national evidence is consistent with this hypothesis, but there are inferential limitations associated with the evidence. Causality, you don't know what direction the relationship is. We report 2 studies that address some of those limitations and provide further tests of the hypothesis. Study 1 revealed that parasite prevalence, and so that's parasites or infectious diseases, strongly predicted cross-national differences on measures assessing individuals' authoritarian personalities. And this effect statistically mediated the relationship between parasite prevalence and authoritarian governance. So what does that mean? The more infectious diseases in the area, the more likely the individuals in that area are to have authoritarian political beliefs, and it's the authoritarian political beliefs of the people, the individuals in the area, that produces the authoritarian government. So it isn't pathogen prevalence, authoritarian government, authoritarianism. It's not a top-down thing. It's a bottom-up thing, and it's driven by individuals, and that seems to be driven by just how likely they are to catch something that's nasty and infectious. So then you think, well, in the West, well, what's the probability you're going to catch something nasty and infectious? It's like, well, very low. So you're liberal. Now, wouldn't that be something if that was actually the case? You know, is that the West is liberal because it has plumbing. It could easily be. I mean, plumbing is no trivial thing, right? I mean, you think of all the things you don't want to do without. It's like in Canada, plumbing would be number 1, and then maybe heat would be number 2, or maybe you'd reverse those, but it's way the hell up there. Study 2 tested the parasite stress hypothesis on a sample of traditional small-scale studies. Results revealed that parasite prevalence predicted measures of authoritarian governance, and did so even when statistically controlling for other threats to human welfare. So it was pathogen prevalence particularly. One additional threat, famine, also uniquely predicted authoritarianism. Okay, so it's famine and disease. Together, these results further substantiate the parasite stress hypothesis of authoritarianism and suggest that societal differences in authoritarian governance result in part from cultural differences in individuals' authoritarian personalities. There's the data. Now, you look, it's just unbelievable. So look at this. So 1 is authoritarian governance, right? There's the correlation with pathogen prevalence. 0.42. So there's another figure that I didn't show here that shows it even. This is from study 2. Study 1, the correlation was 0.65. It's like, isn't that interesting? Maybe the reason that there are authoritarian countries in the world is because there's too many infectious diseases. And so the way to get rid of authoritarianism is to get rid of infectious diseases. So, God, who would have ever guessed that? You know, and look at warfare was negative 0.11, right? You'd think that might be associated with authoritarianism. Malnutrition wasn't even a very big predictor. You know, famine actually hit the equation. So famine and the probability of disease. Man,